to become great and strong. Jeremiah,
Rev.
Your ideal Ghana. You teased a little in your earlier submission, but what would be the first thing you look out for?
I think that we ought to have national ambition to become a developed nation. I've teased this idea a couple of times on social media, and it looks like a lot of people have given up on Ghana. People don't believe that we can be great. But I think that the same way that people like Kwame Nkrumah, J.B. Dankwa became hungry and desirous of breaking Ghana out of the shackles of colonialism, some of us in this generation must become hungry and desirous of making Ghana a developed nation. I mean, easy definition of developed nation. Let's become like a Singapore. Let's become like an America. Let's become like a Britain. Can an African nation become so developed, so well structured, so well organized, so improved that it can look like any of these countries? Yes. But we need to have national ambition. It must be on our minds. It must be something that we wake up every day thinking about. How do we make Ghana a great nation? I think both at the top level of government or the low level of citizens, we don't think enough about this. And we become like survivors who are trying to survive, we're trying to make it, we're trying to get by every day, but we don't have any ambition. So as a nation, let's get ambitious. The next thing I'll talk about would be we need to re-engineer our education. I think that when you study education seems to say, oh, people are empty. Let them go to school so that we can push knowledge in them. But I don't think that that's how education should be. Education's purpose should be to help people unleash what is inside of them. There's a connection between that and building a great nation, because if we are going to make people into things, so without regard for their gifts, their strengths, and their passions, we will not raise great people. So our education should move from just trying to push knowledge into people, science, business, but trying to take time to find out what are people inclined towards, what are their gifts, what are their abilities, and how do we help them to develop that gift or ability. Because really, if you look at life, you look around the world, those who are the most prominent, the most influential, they are people who are deploying their area of gifting. So we go to school, we focus on doing courses, writing exams, we write exams, then we graduate. But no regard to people's giftings, people's abilities, people's strength, helping people develop things that can really make a difference in the world. So we need to re-engineer our education.
If I go to the how-to of this particular prescription, how?
Let's throw away a lot of the courses that I studied in school.
Like?
Too much. I actually think that school is too rigid than it should be. We should do more things that will help people explore. First of all, let's do smaller classrooms. Because see, if you're going to help somebody develop the ability to speak, or the ability to write, or bring out a gift for invention, if there are 70 people in a basic school class, you can't do that. So let's develop smaller classrooms. And then let's move from activities that require you to just take a pen and a paper to write. And let's do what I call demonstration. So if you are in an engineering class, if you are in a literature class, if you are in whatever class, in a marketing class, let's change from the system where you are given a book, you study the book, come and put the book back. And let's run a system where we are exploring ideas, we are creating things. So if you're in a marketing class, we are doing marketing planning. Let's discuss a marketing plan. Then let's all go and do a marketing plan and come and run it. And let's even create a business where we apply the marketing plan. Because see, the difference between school and real life is that in school, you learn marketing plan. It's not asking you a question in the exams. You write some. Maybe you write some part of the marketing plan. The teacher does not assess your marketing plan based on its ability to get results. He will assess the marketing plan by, introduction, executive summary, 2 marks. Strategic analysis, 3 marks. So in the end, you've scored the marks, but we don't know whether your marketing plan is a marketing plan that works or it doesn't work. So let's run the education system where we are doing more practical work, People are practicing. So I say that every degree program must list at least 5 skills that those who are doing it must have by the time they are done. So if you're doing a degree in finance, a degree in banking, a degree in accounting, what are the top 5 skills that you must have by the time you are done? And then let's develop the content of the course to help people hone those skills. Because people really graduate school and they have a degree. Nowadays, I'm even confused about what the word degree means anymore. Is it the certificate or the knowledge or the skills? We're not sure. So let's change our approach. Smaller classrooms, more practical exercises. I even think, if I'm president of Ghana, I'll abolish exams in its current form. No writing of exams on paper. Because it doesn't make any difference. I mean, first of all, I run a business, I have employees. If I ask my employee to develop a communications plan for the company, he's allowed to research from any source, laptop, computer, textbooks. I don't understand why I go to school and I'm asked to prepare a communications plan and they say no textbook. So much of education is memory, chew, pour. There's very little emphasis on creativity, thinking, analysis, creating results.
So you like open book exams? Or you don't like exams at all?
Let's even not do, like we should avoid exams where somebody is sitting down and writing. If you say you have studied strategy, come and show us a business that you are starting and what your strategy is. Go and start the business for a while. Go and implement it. Let's see the results.
Nana Shoko shared in her submission recently on the same broadcast about a science program she volunteered to support, and it was very beautiful, the description. She says the children are being taught diffusion, and instead of chewing definitions, the teacher lets them stand in the corner and sprays perfume here. As the perfume scent travels.
So this is diffusion.
Yeah, that's simple.
The definition of diffusion and osmosis, I knew it more than anybody in the world. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
I didn't movement of what molecules to I knew it. I never understood it until my adult life.
Listen, if you're a science teacher, don't be offended. This is reality. I mean, don't be offended that we are taking apart the way things have been taught over the years. In fact, it's not even a science issue. I mean, I can apply to economics. Board. So you are saying that, and it's surprising. It's not surprising, I must say, but it's interesting that education is featuring in literally every resource person's presentation, and it's often departing from how we've done it to doing it differently, and that's very encouraging.
And Rev, when you look at almost every other sphere of life, there's been radical improvement, except education. Like, we are still sitting in the classroom the same way we're sitting. We are still using a board, teaching the same way for hundreds of years.
Oh, but we've gone into virtual learning. We've gone into collaborating.
The virtual learning is only a virtualization of what is happening in the classroom.
So you want more?
Let's practicalize it. I mean, you do a degree in communications, and half of the class cannot do public speaking. That's crazy.
National ambition is number 1. Re-engineer our education is number 2. What would be your number 3?
State-sponsored support and promotion for entrepreneurship. I think that many people believe that if we are going to develop as a nation, it will come from government. There's a truth in it. But if you watch the men who built America, America was built by private entrepreneurs. So the country must recognize the fact that if, for example, I mean, nobody will even think about this. For the light bulb was developed by an entrepreneur. The camera watching me right now was developed by an entrepreneur. The TV screen that people will watch this show on was developed by an entrepreneur, it wasn't by a government. So the country must recognize that one of the tools or pathways to developing our nation is to drive entrepreneurship. Let's encourage, let's support, let's equip people to become entrepreneurs. I mean, when we built our restaurant, we went to buy fans. And I was upset. This brand, India, this brand, this. I said, what does it take to make fans that we can't make fans in Ghana? I mean, I'm not even saying we should invent any new thing. No. The old things that have been invented, let's also do it here. Why can't Ghana do its own fans? Why can't we do our own air conditions? Why can't we do our own television? Why can't we make our own cars? I'm not saying we should even invent new things. But if that's going to happen, the state must support entrepreneurs. I'm almost in business for almost a decade. By now, I think that in a country that's serious about building a serious nation, somebody should come to me and say, you have employed almost 20 people at your age. what do we do to help you employ 200 people? And I'll show you my roadmap. So there are so many scholarships. Go and do your masters abroad. But there are very few programs empowering entrepreneurs, supporting entrepreneurs, funding entrepreneurs. And until we get our entrepreneurship question right, I don't think that we're going to become a great nation. Government will have to do more. And that dovetails into my next point. We must have increased citizen responsibility. I think we are too dependent on government. So you go to a typical neighborhood in Accra, you see big houses that clearly are built by people who have means. The road is bad, and they're waiting for government to come and do the road.
Someone will argue that if I pay my property rate and I pay my taxes, the government must provide me with the roads and the utilities.
But let's face it, how much tax do we pay as a country? And again, if we are trying to build a nation, all of us must have an extra mile mindset. How can I go the extra mile? So if I can put in so much money and build a good house, I mean, really, if I have bad road, I suffer more than government. I will use the road to and fro every day. So let's be more responsible. Let's do beyond our means. I think that too many times many of us are at the level of personal success. I want to do well, but we're not thinking about the family, the community, the country. So how do I live my life in such a way that I can make a contribution to the success of those in my family, the success of those in my community, the success of those in my country? Because if many of us think beyond ourselves, I think we can make more progress than we are making now.
Interestingly, for somebody else, the ideal Ghana will be a Ghana in which the state takes full responsibility for providing the roads and providing the utilities so that the individual can build their house and people can venture more to provide the infrastructure so that people can build businesses. So in the minds of many, the facilitating role that you mentioned earlier with regards to entrepreneurship must also be extended to infrastructure so that those who want to aspire and do big things can do them. But that's why it's a conversation. Each one can bring their perspective to it. So your first point is about national ambition, a collective desire to become a developed country. Second one is about re-engineering our education. You know, for all the things you said about that one, the part I like is that if I were president, I'll abolish exams. I'm sure you get into trouble for that.
Think about it.
It's like a headline.
Rev, I run a business, I work with a laptop, I hardly write with a pen. Then I do a master's program and my exams is all pen. Like, it feels foreign to me. I'm always typing on my phone, my tablet, or my laptop. So I don't understand why I cannot be allowed to write my exams with a laptop. Even if it's not my laptop and the school gives me a laptop. I mean, I don't understand why in a master's class of middle managers to senior executives who rarely use pen, they're writing exams with pen. Most likely, half of us will fail because we are struggling to do something that we don't usually do.
Did you fail?
I didn't fail.
Number 3, state-sponsored support for entrepreneurship is a big conversation across the world, and that's your third prescription. The fourth is about increased citizen responsibility. You are saying that, listen, most people are focused on their personal success and highly dependent on governments. You are saying that people should take responsibility for a bit more than that, their community, their family, people around them,
let me say
and then also for their environment. Okay.
So the members of the East Legon Executive Fitness Club, these are high net worth individuals. They could easily raise 10 million Ghana cedis to create a fund. What if they decide to adopt, say, 50 young entrepreneurs in Ghana, not those who are about to start, those who have proven that they know how to get resources, and say, we're giving all of you maybe 1 million cedis each. Not a grant, as equity investment. Push it. That's happening in other parts of the world. In Ghana, we don't see that much.
Why?
I don't know.
You are the one who reads, you are the one who researches. So anytime you observe a phenomenon, why? And then when you get the answer, why again?
Okay.
And as you keep asking why, we'll find out why people do. Because as you talk about this, I can contrast, let me go outside our comfort zone and take the film industry. in another part of this sub-region, in our neighbors on our easternward side, if somebody does a film, there is literally competition from different people for you to come and shoot the film in their house. And the credits, right, that this film was shot on location at Jeremiah Buabeng's house. And it's almost like if you build a house and nobody comes to shoot a film there, then
the house is not nice.
It's not nice. So the film industry in that country is developed, and this is just one of several enablers. Contrast that with our country, Ghana, and the person does not even want you to know that this is their home, and it's not common for people to flaunt or show their assets. It's the same sub-region, but very contrasted. So the question then becomes the why.
Why?
So trying to find out why would help us to know why people behave the way they do. But let's go on to your fifth prescription.
Let's minimize corruption. We cannot eliminate corruption, but we can minimize it. I think that we underestimate what corruption does to us as a country, because I see resemblance between running a company and running a country. Running a company demands resources. If the CEO or founder of the company misappropriates the resources in the company cannot achieve its objective. So if we need money to build a new office complex and the CEO is spending the money buying new cars and building more houses, the company cannot achieve its objectives. It's the same for a country. So if a hospital is supposed to be built for, say, $1 million, and somebody writes that it was built for $50 million, and then they take $49 million of that money, they use for something. That is money that should have gone for free SHS and free university that has gone to somebody's personal pocket. So we must become concerned about dealing with corruption. Corruption militates against our ambition to develop as a country, because if an interchange that costs $50 million would be budgeted for as $200 million, it means that we can only have one interchange instead of 5. So we must make more effort as a country to deal with corruption. But so far, it looks like everybody is paying lip service to it and nobody's really dealing with it. We know we cannot necessarily eliminate it, but we cannot become a developed nation if the resource that we have to develop a nation, a few people are dashing their hands into it and just sharing it among themselves. So let's minimize corruption.
In countries like China and Japan, we've seen people executed. We've seen people in government executed for misapplying resources. Would you like to see something like that?
Execution is big. It's a big deal. I wouldn't go that far, because I also believe in forgiveness. I believe in giving people a second chance, because people make mistakes, and sometimes people do things with good intentions that turn out to go wrong. So people make mistakes. So let's not execute them, but people should pay a certain price for doing the things that they do. So if it's imprisonment, if it is seizing their assets or whatever we're going to do, let's do it. But let's make a statement that we need the money we have to build a great country. So one person cannot chop it all.
One person cannot chop it all because corruption militates against our developmental aspirations. Jeremiah started with national ambition and is ending with national ambition again. And the ambition is simple. We should become a developed country in 35 years' time. Why 35?
Because I'm 35. And for me, I feel like it's part of my assignment. So by the time I retire at 70, I should have accomplished my assignment.
So Jeremiah is an assignment to see to a developed Ghana. So if you've been watching us or listening to us for the past hour or so, we've been breaking down the thoughts of Jeremiah Buabeng, and he's been sharing his top 10. The first 5 being the learnings on his journey, and the second 5 being his prescriptions for a better Ghana. Because this is a virtual university, I'm going to run the thoughts by you again. And let's find out on social media which one is your favorite and why. So number 1, reading will lead you. He says if you want to discover your purpose and live a fulfilling life, you must read. Especially if you come from a disadvantaged background, it's even more imperative. Number 2, confidence will lift you. When you find out what you want to do, you must be confident and not be too worried about what people say, but push on to do what you believe you are called to do, and you will make it. The third one is about criticism. He says initially, Also, because of where he was coming from, criticism was an enemy to him. But with time, he became aware that it could tamper his confidence a bit, shape his choices a bit, and make him a better person, and by extension, a better leader. The fourth is about business leadership. He says nothing prepares you for becoming CEO, because whilst everyone has one job, a CEO has multiple jobs to enable you oversee each function effectively, and that requires a lot of management of your time and a lot of learning. The fifth is about diversification. He says, listen, I'm not a specialist, I'm a generalist, and monotony bores me, so I want to move from one thing to another, and it gives me the drive and the vim to do different things. So that explains why he does what he does. On Jeremiah's ideal Ghana, it's 5 things. Number 1, national ambition. He says we should aspire to become a developed country, and it must feature in our conversations. It must be something we are passionate about. The next is about re-engineering our education. He says if he were president, he would ban exams. I tried to suggest tempering it down to open book exams. He says anything you write, he will ban it. So now you know. Please don't vote for him. If you want to write exams, please don't vote for Jeremiah. He will ban it. He says every degree must promise 5 skills. So curriculum, or what did they call that thing? You're advertising for a university. You say if you do architecture or engineering here, by the time your award finishes, these are the 5 skills you must have.
Yeah.
So that when the person is graduating, we'll ask you if the person didn't get the 5 skills, we'll get a refund. The next one is about state-sponsored entrepreneurship. He's saying that beyond the effort of the individual, the state must be actively involved in supporting entrepreneurs, sponsoring them, funding them, and encouraging them to grow from 20 to 200 and beyond. The last but one is about increased citizen responsibility. He says beyond your personal success, don't be over-dependent on government. Look at how you can help the person next to you, your family, your environment, your community, and give something back to help make the world a better place. And the last one, let's minimize corruption. He says if an overpass costs 50 million and you say it costs 200, we can have one instead of 4 overpasses. So corruption fights our developmental effort, and we can't be passive about it. I asked him about execution. He says don't kill them, forgive them. But forgiveness means putting them in jail and seizing their assets. This is Jeremiah's ideal Ghana. Did I summarize it well?
You did, sir.
Charlie, forgive them, but put them in prison. I love that one. Jeremiah, what would be your closing thoughts? I mean, we are in a very turbulent time. And while we discuss all these prescriptions and all these learnings, there's a young person looking at us saying, Charlie, but let's talk about today. I mean, a combination of COVID, the famous Russia-Ukraine war, and the intense disruption of the global financial system, and in Ghana in particular, absolute disruption of our financial systems, have left a number of young people uncertain. Look into this camera and tell them what should they do? What would be your closing thoughts for a young person looking for hope?
Interestingly, what I'm about to say is maybe unconventional. It may not be what people expect, but having observed life for a while, I think that I've recognized that there's a force that lifts people up in life. People hardly rise to prominence by default, by chance. You know, some years ago, there was a young lady in the US who became a billionaire just by selling makeup. I said, makeup. People are selling cars, they're not millionaires. But when I studied her, I said, no, there's something behind it. There is something that lifts people up in life. It may be God, or it may be the devil, but there's certainly something that lifts people up. Don't try to make your effort in life alone. You need to align with a divine power. You need to align with the divine power, with all the things, that uncertainty that is going on in the world. Your degree from University of Ghana is not enough. Your skills are not enough. So you must try to deploy the power of the supernatural to help you achieve the results that you want to achieve. I think that even as a nation, I mean, maybe becoming developed is so big that we may not be able to do it only at a human level. So we might want to consider deploying the power of the supernatural. So if you're there at whatever level that you are in life, whether you're at the bottom or you're in the middle or you're in the top, you may want to consider aligning with God. I mean, I'm a Christian. That's why I recommend. It is God who lifts people up in life. If somebody is lifted up in life, it is either God or it's somebody else. So consider aligning yourself spiritually.
So you're saying that apart from all the things you've said, your faith is the takeaway anchor you want to share with people. Jeremiah, it's been great having you around, and let's do this again and have a conversation about another broad spectrum of events. My warm regards to Enam.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a blessing. So this has been another inspiring, engaging, transformational conversation about my top 10 with Jeremiah Buabeng, CEO of the Buabeng Group, and a writer and a consultant, doing several different things, including convening the Accra Youth Summit. I'm mentioning it because I want him to reconvene it. He's missed it a couple of years, and I'm not forgiving him for that one. So next time you hear about the Accra Youth Summit, you know that I'm endorsing it and encouraging Jeremiah to do it again. My name is Albert Ocran, thanking you on behalf of the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and our partners, MTN, Pulse, the Enterprise Group, UMB Bank, and our media sponsors, the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Business. So we come your way again next week. My name is Albert, saying God bless you, and God bless you.